Yeah, hello everyone. Going to the moon with just instruments. It's pretty straightforward. If you know all the numbers for everything, it's pretty easy to get there. The only tricky part is landing without being able to scout for a landing spot. But we're going to rely mostly on luck in that regard, hoping that we don't land on a slope or anything like that. But everything else is pretty straightforward. You'll see it as we go. But let's go ahead and get ready to go. SAS, turn that on. Full throttle. Yep. And the moon is already set as a target. So if I go over to maneuver, approach info for the moon, here's our approach info. Don't have any right now because we're still on the ground at Kerbin. But once we get into orbit and launch towards it, which is about 120 degrees, our phase angle, we'll burn for it and basically just wait for some approach info to pop up. And that's how you get to the moon without looking at anything. So yeah, we're ready to go now. The only problem I noticed in my test is that I don't have vectors on here at first. They don't pop up until I stage. Speaking of which, staging. Okay. So launching is going to be a little wonky, but it's doable. All right, everything's ready. Let's go ahead and launch, and pointer 90 degrees. Yeah, see, I don't have a prograde vector, so I'm just guessing. I have no idea, actually, if I'm causing drag, but I'm kind of using the surface speed as an indicator. If it starts to slow, like the climb starts to slow down a lot, that means I'm experiencing a lot of drag, which means I'm not on my prograde vector, but it's looking pretty good right now. Basically just going to bring this down over to the horizon as that apoapsis number on the far left in the orbital screen, in the orbital window, climbing up. I'm probably pulling it down too much since our apoapsis isn't that high. But let's go ahead and bring the throttle down just a little bit. I don't want that climbing away too fast. Basically, we're just waiting until the apoapsis gets to 70 or a little above, because that's where the atmosphere ends. And then from there, we can, well, we're about to lose our stage, so let's go ahead and jettison, and there's our marker. Let's go ahead and start the next engine. And we're about to be at 70, so let's go ahead and pull all the way down to the horizon. And to give it a little time, maybe 75 kilometers would be a good place to stop. Yeah, that's all right. All right, kill engine at 75 apoapsis. Now our periapsis, negative 421. That's not good. That is not an efficient launch. It basically means we're going to be burning a lot to get that periapsis up. However, it's doable, and I'm hoping I've got just tons of fuel. I've still got 2,500 meters per second in this stage. But this stage is supposed to get me to the moon and get me on a collision course with the moon as well, or get ready to land. But right now, we are showing about 60 kilometers. That's going to climb up to 75, where our apoapsis is, and that's when around there is when we're going to need to start burning again to get our periapsis up and get a nice circular orbit. Right now, we're on a suborbital trajectory. If I just did nothing, I would climb all the way up to our highest point and then fall back down into the atmosphere, which is no good. All right. Since that's getting closer, let's go ahead and I want to play with it just a little bit, see what happens to my apoapsis if I burn a little bit into the negative. Okay, yeah, so it is climbing down as it should. Just didn't know how fast it would do it. Let's go ahead. Yeah, since 400 is quite a bit, we're going to have to be burning quite a long time. So I want to do this early. Keep it in the negative so the apoapsis doesn't climb while I'm trying to get the periapsis up, if that makes sense. See how it's going down to 74, 75? I want to keep it around there by playing around with my pitch. And the periapsis, it's making its way. Shoot up the throttle a little bit so it's a little faster. And basically just want the periapsis and the apoapsis to match, and that's a circular orbit. Okay, so we're climbing up a little bit again. Yep. Just playing with it. Periapsis, getting there, getting there. Okay. Wanna do this fine tuning here at a low throttle. There we go. See, apewaves is climbing, so we got to pull this down a little bit. Climbing quite a bit. It's probably not gonna be. Yeah, it's not gonna be perfectly circular, but 78, 73. That's not too bad. All right, so it's approximately circular. Definitely, the difference is negligible, and it doesn't really matter either. I'm going to the moon. We're not doing anything advanced. But yeah, so like I said, the moon. It's called the Mun in the game, but whatever, same thing. The phase angle is 120 degrees, so it's starting to climb down now. Once it gets to 120, we just burn prograde. And I've noticed it's around an orbital speed of 3,100, if I'm remembering correctly. Of course, it depends on your inclination, your uh, altitude, all that stuff, but it's approximately 3,100. So we'll burn prograde until we get around there, and then I'll kill engine and kind of just ease myself into a Mun Approach. So basically just waiting for some approach info, some numbers to pop up right here. Once that happens, then we're good, and we're close enough to the moon that we can later adjust it, get close to the surface, get a nice clean orbit around the moon if possible. The hard part I noticed was inclination. So yeah, our inclination is not 0. So we could have some difficulty coming into the moon at a weird angle. But I'll just play with the inclination when we get there, try to get it down to 0. That's basically it. So let's just go ahead and time warp to 120 and get ready to. Oh, another thing I noticed was that I don't have radial in, radial out, normal, anti-normal vectors on the nav ball either. That's really important. So I am going to have to cheat a little bit, just a little bit. I'm going to go into my map screen and then come right back in. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so you see at the top of the nav ball, I got my radial out vector. I don't know why I have to do that, but I do. So it is what it is. But let's time warp down to the phase angle of 120 degrees, and then we'll burn for the moon. Get on over to our prograde vector. That is very important. Okay. I don't know if it has to exactly be 120. I think it's since the moon's so close, it doesn't really matter. So yeah, let's go ahead and full throttle it. Get that orbital velocity down there to about 3,000 whereabouts, and then I'll just kind of ease into an approach. Like I said, let's keep that right on the prograde. And 3,000. Okay, kill engine. I'm just gonna barely engage the throttle and wait for some approach. Yeah, a number will pop up there on the approach 1. Right around 3,100, I'm guessing. Could be a little higher, could be a little less. Just keeping an eye on it. Okay, wow, right at 3,100. Okay, so approach 1, 2.6 million. That's pretty far, but at least it's in the sphere of influence of the moon. So I can go ahead and try to fix that right now, get a little closer. It's just going to be super sensitive, which is why I was using such a low throttle, because it's very easy to just blow right past it and get on an escape trajectory out of the Kerbin system. But yeah, so I'm just going to go ahead and just barely engage it and see if I can get it down as close as possible. Oh, it jumped up to 12. Oh, that's interesting. Well, that could be a problem. What does that mean? Does that mean I'm below its? Is that mean I'm ahead of it? Oh, it's popping between 12 million and 355 kilometers. Okay, you gonna stay there? I'm gonna guess it's just confused. Yeah, I think my actual approach is 355 kilometers, which is pretty close. I can get it all the way up to the surface, about 20 kilometers above the surface, once we actually enter the sphere of influence of the moon. I just don't understand why it's popping back and forth. Hopefully, like its gravity isn't. I actually don't know how that works at all. I'm not going to pretend to know what I'm talking about. I know in real life, like as you travel towards the moon, its gravity affects your trajectory a little bit, and I think it's all calculated though. Like I said, I'm not gonna pretend to know what the hell I'm talking about. But I guess we got a journey ahead of us. We got to travel all the way to the moon, and I have no idea when I'm gonna arrive there, other than just time warping and praying that it kicks me out of time warp when I enter the sphere of influence. I think also the info will change, which is going to be a good indication. But let's go ahead and time warp. And right now we're just cruising through space away from Kerbin towards the moon. And it's quite a lengthy journey. I actually don't know how long it is exactly, which is why I'm kind of relying on either getting kicked out of. Yep, okay. All right, we just got kicked out of time warp. And look at that. Okay, our periapsis is 355 kilometers. That's very nice. That's very easy to fix. But what I want to do is go over to advanced info. And our inclination is not great. I want it to be 0 because 0 means equatorial. And the reason why I want it equatorial is because since I can't scout for our landing spot, I'm kind of relying on luck to not land on a slope or a mountain or something like that. And I think an equatorial orbit gives me the best chance statistically to land somewhere smooth. Of course, there's tons of craters. You could land at the edge of a crater. You could land on one of the inclines coming in and out of the craters. I mean, there's just so much, but it beats a polar orbit because the poles on the moon are notoriously mountainous. So that would be pretty much impossible to land on blind like this. So equatorial orbit is what I want. Let me go ahead and are my other vectors gone? Okay, let's play around with the normal, anti-normal. That fixes inclination. I just don't know enough about it to know exactly which one I need to burn from where I am. So let's just go ahead and burn at one of them and see how the inclination changes. Okay, see how it started climbing up? That means we're on the wrong one. Let's go ahead and rotate around. And now if I was smart, this is, I want to say anti-normal. If I was smart, I could figure out if I'm on the leading edge of the moon or the trailing edge based on how my inclination changes from my approach. But I mean, oh, and one thing to keep in mind as I'm bringing this down, it's going to change my periapsis quite a bit. So 4, I'm going to go ahead and be satisfied with that. I don't want to change my periapsis too much, which is still around 365. That's good. So to fix that, we're going to go to radial in. Just right here, radial in vector. And this is going to push our trajectory closer to the surface. And I'm aiming for around a 20-kilometer orbit. That's just a good height, I guess. Yep, see how it's climbing down? We're going to get that periapsis down to 20 kilometers, and that'll be our closest approach. And from there, that's all fine and good. A closest approach is a closest approach, but if I do nothing after that, I'm just going to slingshot around the moon and go God knows where. So we're going to have to wait until we get to our closest approach, and then sorry, hang on. concentrating here. Wow, I just full throttled it. Oh, okay. So yeah, we are now on a collision course with the moon. So now I gotta go back to radial out and pull that back out. I accidentally just slipped my finger there and full throttled it. So now if I did nothing, we're just gonna crash straight into the surface. So yeah, let me bring that back up. I don't even remember what I was saying before, but oh yeah, once I get the closest approach, we actually have to wait until we get there and then get in orbit. Burn at the closest approach to get in orbit. Okay, bring it back up to 20. Perfect. All right. Now we got our periapsis at 20. And now this part's a little tricky. So yeah, you burn retrograde once you arrive at your periapsis to bring your apoapsis, your highest point, down. And you can, just like getting into orbit around Kerbin, we want it to be matching, and that's a circular orbit. Where is my retrograde? Is it up here? Yeah, that makes sense actually. But here's the problem. I don't know what my exact altitude is right now above the moon. I have this thing right here, but it only works up until 100,000 kilometers. Yeah, 100,000 kilometers. Once you're higher than 100,000 kilometers, there's really no way of knowing. There's like, I wish there was like a number or something here that told you like how many of these rotations you are above, and then you could just do the math. Like if it was like 4, if there was a number 4 here, then it would be whatever this is. Like it's about to be at 10 kilometers, right? Plus 4, that's going to be, well, oh shoot, did I just walk myself into a corner here? Yeah, that would be a 400 kilometers above the surface, 410 kilometers above the surface. But it doesn't have a number or anything, so I have no idea. I have no idea how high I actually am. And the only way to know once I've actually arrived at my periapsis is to basically just watch this and watch the retrograde vector, because the retrograde vector will start to go down towards the horizon. Once it's at the horizon, that means we are also on the equator, intersecting with the equator of the moon, I believe. And also this will start to slow down, and once we actually arrive, it'll start to climb back up, because we'll be leaving our closest approach and heading towards our highest approach, or our longest approach, if that makes sense. So really, we're just watching both to give us an indication of how close we're getting. The best way to do that is to see when it starts to slow down, is to get in time warp and kind of watch that retrograde as well. I just don't know how fast of a time warp would be advisable. We're kind of just going to wait and see. Also, the orbital speed is a good indication too. That's going to climb as we fall closer and closer to the moon. We're going to get faster and faster. And I believe the orbital speed at around 20 kilometers is going to be like 500, 600 meters per second, maybe even more. But yeah, so there are tons of ways of figuring out how high you are. You're not going to know exactly how high you are. So I hope all that makes sense. I mean, any advanced Kerbal players or any just pilots in general know that. That's probably pretty trivial. Also, if it was a decent cockpit, it would tell me, but it does not. So, all right, yeah, so that retrograde is slowly teetering down, which means we've got quite a long ways to go, I think. Let's go ahead and bump this up. Don't want it to be too dangerous. Yeah, all right. All right, that retrograde's working itself down. That's good. That's good. And also the orientation of our ship, that's a little bit more advanced, but the actual cursor of the nav ball tells us too. So, okay, I'm going to guess either this one or the next one. Okay, it's got to be the next one. Yeah. Okay, here we go. I'm gonna guess that this is it because our retrograde marker is basically at the horizon, and we're almost at 20 kilometers on the altimeter. And wow, I was way off on the orbital speed, 800 meters per second. But it's probably because we're coming in. There's a lot of reasons, but okay. Once that gets to 20 kilometers, we're gonna go ahead and bring that apoapsis down, try to get a circular orbit. So yeah, the altimeter down there is slowing down a bunch. That's because once it arrives at 20 kilometers, it's actually going to start climbing back up again. But yeah, I'm just waiting now. I don't want to time warp anymore and risk blowing past our periapsis. So let's just wait. All right, let's go ahead and burn. Let's keep this in the positive. Yeah, positive, so it doesn't fall below 20. Get that apoapsis down. It's actually happening pretty fast, so not a whole lot of fuel is going to be spent getting a circular orbit, which I guess I knew, but I just completely forgot. Okay, we have fallen below it now, and we're oof. Yeah. Okay. Periapsis is at 9. And actually, now that I think about it, we don't even need to get into orbit, do we? Since I'm not going to be able to scout for a landing spot, there's no point. We can just go ahead and burn straight for the surface. Our apoapsis is not too high. So, I mean, we could wait, get up to our apoapsis, bring that periapsis back up, then go back to the periapsis, bring the apoapsis down. But that's just a whole lot of pointlessness, I think. So let's go ahead and just burn for the surface and hope we don't die. All right. In fact, if you don't mind, I'm going to go ahead and save. I know, kind of cheating. I wanted to do this all in one take, but if I screw up the landing, I don't want it to just be, mission over. Oh, well, hope you all enjoyed. Thanks. Come again. I'm going to reload and try again. It's also a good learning experience because you can figure out like, hey, what went wrong? What can we do to fix it? But yeah, if you'll indulge me in letting me quick save and load in case I mess up, that would be very kind of you. But okay, let's go ahead and get the periapsis down. Basically the idea is it doesn't matter where in the negatives it is, as much as possible to get that orbital velocity down. I want to try to get it down as much as possible without spending too much fuel. But let's just full throttle it and see what happens. We're also about to run out of fuel this stage, so... Okay, our orbital velocity is way low now. Okay, that's good. I don't know. We've still got some fuel in this stage, but not enough. I think I'm going to go ahead and jettison it. Yeah. Oh, that was our fairing. Ooh, okay, yeah, that's important. We need to get our solar panels out. So yeah, our fairing was preventing our solar panels from coming out. We're going to need that on the surface, otherwise we might run out of electricity. But now we can eject that engine. Good. Okay. Let's make sure the throttle is down and activate this engine. Boom. Okay. So our orbital speed 150, and we're about to hit 10 kilometers here in just a little bit. The plan is going to be a really inefficient landing. Since I'm blind, I got to just try to do this any way I can. So once I get low enough altitude, maybe 5K, that might even be too much, 10K, we'll go ahead and kill orbital speed down all the way to 0. And what that means is we won't be moving horizontally anymore, and we'll be just falling straight down towards the surface. And then we can control our descent from there with all this massive amount of fuel that we have. Speaking of which, let's go ahead and engage landing gear. And hear it. The unfurling of the legs. Nice. Yeah, so we just hit 10 kilometers. We're about to. Let's go ahead and get that surface speed. I'm actually glad that automatically changed from orbital speed to surface speed because those are different. And I have no way to do it manually from in the cockpit. But let's get that speed down. all the way, because we're dropping fast. Yeah, I want to go ahead and get it down to 0. Close enough, close enough. Now, so what's going to happen is this. Oh, there's our stage that just crashed into the surface. Okay, I got to talk fast, but once this big hand gets to 3, we'll get the radar altitude reading, and that's going to drop really quick, because the moon's got low gravity, but I mean it's way more than something like Minmus or some other moon. But okay, yeah, we get an altitude reading, so we're going to do a controlled burn from here. No suicide burns. We don't do that here. But yeah, I want to get that surface speed as close to 0 as possible. And right now we're just kind of, gracefully falling to the surface. And I'm playing with my throttle, see, because if I let it go past 0, then I'm going to start climbing again. And if I let that retrograde fall off, yeah, if I let it go too far away, I'm not going to be lined up with the surface. But okay, yeah, we're just basically doing a controlled landing here. It's a lot of just playing with the speed, playing with the retrograde, watching the radar. Gotta watch like 3 different things at once. See, my speed's getting too high. There we go. I think I found a nice happy place. Might not have much to say as we start getting really close to the surface, so I'm just going to concentrate, so hopefully we don't crash together. And I want to try to land at a pretty low speed. Let's see if I even have to mess with the throttle. I might have to bring it 1 notch lower. Otherwise we might blow past it, past 0 before we get to the surface. It's a little mini game. It's a fun mini game, but it's stressful. Okay. 6 meters per second, 5. Yeah, we're going to have to let the throttle go just a little bit. I think. Maybe. I'm going to wait as long as I can. Yep. Gotta let the throttle go a little bit. It climbs so fast between the 2 throttle settings. Okay, 200. And all the while I'm playing like the balance the broomstick on your fingertip with my orientation. Okay, 5 meters per second, probably a little too fast. At 100 meters, we are approaching, and this is assuming I don't land on a slope. I don't know what just happened. Okay, we just landed. And hopefully we don't tip over. Oh, we're not even on an incline, guys. Look at that. See my cursor on the nav ball? It's barely past the center, which means the ground that we're on is pretty much flat. We got so lucky. I love it. Okay. Excellent. Now, as long as I don't accidentally throw us in one direction or the other, I think we're pretty stable, though. All right, we're on the surface of the moon. We landed. That was stressful. I'm sweating over here. But okay, now what we came for is the science. I don't know if I mentioned this at the beginning. I already forgot if I did or not. But yeah, I'm doing science too. And any experienced players are probably thinking, how are you going to do science while you're stuck in the cockpit? Great question. I have action groups assigned to the science experiments that are strapped to the side of my rocket. But not only that, I have a little data collection unit on top of the command pod. I wish you could see how ridiculous it looks because I have the command pod, the little collection module, and then a parachute. I've already tested the reentry. It doesn't blow up, so we're fine there. But yeah, that I've got action groups for both. One for the science experiments, and then one for collecting the data. And then that little data collection module will actually go back to Kerbin with us. And but now that I'm talking about it, I did forget to grab science from Moon Orbit, which is the whole point of the data collection, right? Because if I was only going to do science once, I wouldn't need the data collection because it could just stay in the experiments and the experiments could go home with us. But since I wanted to do science multiple times, you got to run the science experiments, collect that data so it all resets, and then run the science experiments again when you're at a different location, and then collect that again. So you have just a collection of science, however many you want to do. But okay, enough talk. Let's go ahead and action group it. So 2 is my just normal science that works in orbit 2, which I will need to grab this again when we get back up into orbit. I can't forget to do that. So yes, keep experiment, keep. Good. Got those. And then these are my surface experiments that only work on the surface. So the mystery goo, because I can't reset that. And then the seismic accelerometer or something like that. Oh, we'll see it. Yeah, seismic scan. There we go. And mystery goo, seismic scan. Good. And now let's go ahead and collect it with action group 4. Yep, the mystery goo is inoperable. Can't use that again. But okay, we got the science. We landed first try, which is great. And I think getting home is going to be pretty trivial, pretty easy, as long as I don't mess anything up. Going to go ahead and save it again. But you know what? It's going to make me overwrite. Yeah, why not? We're already on the ground. I mean, we haven't had to load, so we may not have to now. But okay, let's go home. Let's be done with this. So I'm going to go ahead and burn towards the 90 so we can get equatorial. This is where it's really important to get equatorial because I only know the ejection for an equatorial orbit to get back home. Otherwise, we may have some problems. But okay, let's go ahead and let's launch and get out of here. And now since there's no atmosphere, we don't got to worry about drag. My cursor can be away from the prograde vector. But okay, apoapsis, gonna get it up to 20 again, same as the orbit that we were in last time. And yeah, okay, so we're plenty high, so we don't gotta worry about hitting any mountains. Go ahead and get it over to the horizon. $16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Perfect. And now we just wait until we reach our highest point, just like launching from Kerbin. It's the great thing about physics is they're universal. Time warp up to 20. And then burn prograde. Oh, is my SAS on? Okay, now it is. Okay, burn prograde. Keep it kind of in the negative. And bring that periapsis up to 20. Get in orbit. Oof. Ape Waves got a little away from us. That's all right. It really does not matter. I'm just kind of a perfectionist when it comes to orbits. I like nice circular orbits, But okay, so this is the tricky part. This is the part where I actually had to write down some stuff. Okay, our inclination is 0.8. That's perfect. That's close enough to 0, which means the ejection is going to be more or less the same as what I wrote down. About 20 degrees is going to be when we want to escape the moon. That is on the far leading edge of the moon. And what that does is it plots an escape from the moon in such a way that when we leave, the moon actually kind of pulls back on us because it's leaving us in the opposite direction. I don't want to get too deep into it, but if I had like escaped from the trailing end of the moon, then its gravity would actually push us out further. And to get back home, we want to slow down as much as possible. Now, my way home is inefficient because I'm just want to do it the easiest way possible. Basically, I escape the moon and from the leading edge, and then once I escape the moon, I will be back into orbit around Kerbin, and from there I can just burn retrograde, bring our periapsis down into the atmosphere, just dip it into the atmosphere a little bit, and then we just ride it. Then we just ride it home, eject our everything except for our command pod and our experiment unit, and then we get home. That's it. But oh yeah, since I'm here, let's go ahead and do those experiments again. Just the space one. There we go. See, new stuff, new stuff. Keep, and then pick it up. All right. So everything's in our little science collection unit. We've got 2 separate ones. We could actually even get more science higher up. I think we can get more science in a high orbit around the moon. See, right now we're in a low orbit. I'm not sure what qualifies as a high orbit. Probably anything just before we leave it would be high. Don't got to think too hard about that one. But okay, yeah, so let's go back to this. We are waiting for the ejection of 20 degrees. So let's time warp. Go a little bit faster. Not 120, like when we left Kerbin, just 20. Awesome. All right. And now we just burn full, and it won't actually tell me when we've escaped, but I believe it's around 2.2 million. We can just go for maybe 2.5. Probably pretty good. All right, full throttle. Or is it 1.2? Is it 1.2 or 2.2? Oh boy. I actually don't know. But we are pretty low on fuel. We're going to need as much of it as possible to get into the atmosphere. Hold on, let me think about this. Maybe. Okay, worst case, let's get it up to 1.5. Worst case scenario, we go up to that point and then fall back down. And we'll know then that we screwed up and we should have done 2.2. It's just a lot of wasted time. But let's time warp. Let's just see what happens. Fast time warp. If it kicks me out of time warp and gives me different info, that means we've escaped the moon. And that's what I'm hoping. Oh, hang on. Let's go ahead and grab more science. Because why not? There we go. High over moon's east crater. Okay. Specific about the surface. And pick it up. Great. Now we got lots of science on this mission. That's nice. But let's time warp. Oh, so we're falling. Yeah. Okay. Okay. So yeah, lots of wasted time there. Let's go back to... How do we do this? Okay. Prograde, we got to wait for that to be on the horizon. And then we'll just burn up to 2.2. Okay, I was right the first time. I started second guessing myself. But we basically just made a big old circle around the moon. And our little Kerbal is probably starving. Okay. There. Now let's get orbital info. All right, 2.2. Why not 3? Now that's definitely got to be an escape, right? Time warp. Time warp. And if it kicks us out, gives us new info, that means, hallelujah, we've left the moon. Booyah! Check that out. We are in orbit around Kerbin. And the way we get into the atmosphere is just burn retrograde and bring this number down. Hopefully we have the fuel to do it. I think we do. 600 should be plenty. Oh yeah, should be plenty. Yeah, we're good. We got the fuel. All right, so we're aiming for a 30-kilometer entry. Hopefully we have the fuel. Three, 2, 1. Okay, let's gently come in. 70 kilometers is the atmospheric border, but we want to be a little bit below that. That way we don't essentially just bounce. Okay, 6, 5, 4, 3. Perfectionist. Okay, there's 30, and we've got 244 meters per second of delta V left. We just barely made it, guys. Just barely made it. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and eject my engine and fuel, and I'm doing it in this direction because if I were to do it in prograde or retrograde, the ejection force actually changes our periapsis and apoapsis, and I don't want that periapsis to jump up too high or go down too low. So ejecting it at this angle, and boom, periapsis hardly changed at all. And now all we got to do is just hold retrograde and ride in all the way home. Oh, hello. What happened to our... What happened? What just happened? Did we just get slingshotted or something? I think we just screwed up somehow. I don't know why it's giving me incorrect readings. We could be about to die, folks. We could be about to die. Let's just wait for a collision, I guess. Negative 76 kilometers? I don't think we're going to survive that entry. Okay. We're entering the atmosphere. Oh, shoot. We're entering the atmosphere. Let's hold retrograde and just pray. Wow, we are coming in steep. You can hear the atmosphere ripping us apart. I'm a little worried here. Okay, we're at 20 kilometers. Did we just survive that? Okay, I don't know what happened to our trajectory. Maybe the moon pulled us or something, but okay, so this little cursor right here shows us where in the atmosphere we are. We are also about 10 kilometers above the surface. Once that gets into the thicker part of the atmosphere, I will deploy the parachute. But I think we just survived. I think we just legit survived an insane re-entry. Okay, deploy. I mean, I have a heat shield and it's a low weight command pod, but still, that should have -76. That probably should have killed us. And I honestly, or maybe the readings were just wrong and we really did come in at 30 kilometers. I don't know. I'm just glad we didn't die. Okay. Parachutes deployed, surface speed going all the way down to a nice, safe, comfortable level. I'm actually going to turn off SAS so we just ride the parachute. Oh, okay. Wow. I don't know if we're going to get splashed down or landing. We're going to find out here in just a minute. We are at 100 meters. Once this gets down to 0, we will either not hear anything, maybe a thud or something, or a splash. I'm hoping for a splashdown. That'd be nice. And oh, okay. We're on land. And got lucky because it's relatively flat. Look at that. If we were on a hill, that cursor would be like over here somewhere, some weird angle. But okay, after a very stressful mission. Holy hell. We did it though. We got lots of science, did it all with just instruments. But yeah, okay, since the challenge is over, I guess we can go ahead and exit this view. And look at that. Told you it looked ridiculous. Got our little science collector here. Our experiments. It looks funky, but it works. It's practical. And all that matters. Let's go ahead and recover vessel and check out our science winnings. Hey, it's not bad. It's 500 science with just like minimal experiments. You know, I didn't go all out with the science junior and all the other stuff. It was just like the very basics. So it's really not bad at all. 500 science. And we got all of that from just inside the cockpit. Well, all right. Hope anyone who's watching enjoyed. That was stressful for me, but hopefully fun for you. Good job, Jebediah. You trooper. All right. Thanks, guys.